Right after a decade of prosperity across the United States, on October 29, 1929, the stock market crashed and the economy turned for the worst, entering a period known infamously as the Great Depression. This era, during the 1930s, affected millions of Americans nationwide, socially, economically, and culturally. The Dust Bowl in the Midwest caused the once fertile land to completely dry up and resemble a barren desert, running the farmers off their lands in search of new jobs. By 1933, more than 11,000 banks had closed down. Many lost their sources of income, and the unemployment rate reached an all-time high of 24.9% nationwide. More than 60% of Americans were living below the poverty line. Suicide rates skyrocketed to 18.1 people for every 100,000 people. Crime, prostitution, and alcoholism found their way into everyday life. Many younger men participated in train hopping across the country, hitching a ride to any place that provided jobs with decent pay. Immigrants were being discriminated and seen as second-class citizens from the white Anglo-Saxon Protestants that controlled all aspects of the nation. Of all the minorities, the Great Depression hit African Americans the hardest. They faced a higher unemployment rate, lower wages, unequal rights, and nationwide discrimination. Famous court cases involving African Americans in the 1930s revolved around a group of young black men called the Scottsboro Boys. This group of 9 young black men were accused of raping 2 white women. During their rush trials, they received unfair representation, and all but one of the boys were sentenced to death. The case was appealed with the help of the American Communist Party and tried 2 more times. Charges were dropped for 4 out of the 9, but the verdict still remained the same: guilty. Unfortunately, this was a common occurrence. Groups like the Ku Klux Klan organized hate crimes such as lynchings. Mexican Americans also struggled with being accepted. The government arranged several raids in Mexican communities, resulting in mass deportations. But amongst all the chaos, people still find ways to entertain themselves. Sports and movies were incorporated into the American lifestyle. Novels were written about overcoming the Great Depression, and heroes like Superman and Batman in comic strips instilled the hope for a better time to come. Musicians such as Louis Armstrong, Duke Ellington, and Pete Seeger provided people with enjoyment. Music was every man's escape, whether it be jazz, the blues, swing, or folk. It provided a temporary escape from the dumps America was in. The era of the Great Depression affected every American, from the richest of the rich to the poorest of the poor. This time of economic hardship left a prolonged legacy to create a wave of new reforms that ultimately are instilled in our economy today.